Well, hello everybody and welcome back to day number 1 of our second week of the SCC qualifiers. We're still here in North America. We got the Sturdy Artisans against LEONCITOS as our second set of the day. We already had our first team qualify into the SCC with the Vamps, and now with this set, we'll get to see who's going to join them in the NA SCC. My name is J-Mac. With me, Trelly. We join me on the desk for our second set. And we got a banger of a set here. I mean, these are two top teams that have been around the scene for such a long time.
Oh yeah, this is going to be a very exciting match. I think there's going to be some veteranship on both sides of this match going here. And, I mean, I think some off-meta picks are definitely going to be coming our way, so definitely some exciting Smite coming up.
Yeah, with these teams, you never know what you're going to get here. Let's take a look, though, at the schedule and the bracket to see what all we have in store for us today. We had our first set go through, a 2-0 for the Vamps, so they qualified into the SCC. Great gentlemen, they're not out just yet. They do still have another chance to make it through on their run in the losers bracket. We got Sturdy Artisans, LEONCITOS, Samsara, Fun Havers, and Lean Into It, and Sops Time all facing off today. Every one of these matches is going to have a team that's going to qualify into the SCC, and every one of the teams that lose will drop into the losers side of this bracket here. You can already see Great Gentlemen. We'll wait for their matchup between HOTM and My Fault B before they face off, and at the end of that, there'll be 2 more teams that make it into the NA SCC. And I mean, Trelly, just from the teams that we watched last week and even just from this first set that we got here, I mean, there was a lot of big talent here in this NA scene to be, making their run towards SCC.
Oh yeah, and I think this matchup is pretty much what's going to showcase that very well. We have lots of big names here, as we've already mentioned, and I think this is going to be a very intense match. They have a lot of talent here.
Yeah, I mean, Sturdy Artisans are a team that have been around the scene for a long time, just the players specifically here, and I think one of the biggest, kind of power couples that we have here as far as the mid 2v2 goes in Sino and Moswell on the side of Sturdy Artisans is probably the one that we're going to be focusing in a lot on. I mean, these two players play with each other in the SPL for a time being. Sino, I mean, you're talking about players that don't really play the conventional, picks out here. Sino's kind of the name of the game there, Trelly.
No, absolutely. I mean, last time we saw him play, he was whipping out lots of weird stuff, maybe even some Scotty Jungle, which has some questionable, success rates, but I think most of us hate it, but we just saw it get a kill right there, so it does happen. It does have some mild forms of success in this matchup specifically, and Sino's definitely going to keep you on your toes at the very least.
Yeah, I say I hate in the sense of I hate that it works. I hate that this guy has this level of talent to make a pick like Scotty Jungle work out here. Moswell, when we saw him in the SPL qualifiers a few weeks back, he was playing things like Hell and Zeus were pretty much the primaries. But going back to this Merlin, which has kind of been a staple pick with this double flat pen meta, and with all the gods that are currently meta, Trelly, it makes it a little bit difficult and makes it a very contentious pick when it comes to those first phases of the draft.
Yeah, I think this matchup is definitely going to be a little bit difficult in the picks and bans specifically because you don't really know who you want to target here. I mean, Relentless One is such a force in the solo lanes, and there's a lot of popular solo picks right now. But on the other flip side, Sino's always got something weird he can whip out. He had the Chalk Jungle as well. Those are some picks that you don't really want to ban away because you want to ban away, like, hey, Bastet's really good, or hey, these junglers are going to bring more pressure than that. But you can't lock down the Sturdy Artisans. You really can't.
Yeah, I mean, that's always like the double-edged sword against teams like this is, yeah, they're always going to play weird stuff, but you never really want to ban it. But talk about players and teams that also do weird stuff here. We have LEONCITOS on the opposite side facing off Heed, Elion, Spreen, Hurrywin, and Snoopy. We saw a little bit of Hurrywin, Snoopy during the SPL qualifiers. We got to see what Elion did in the mid lane, but Elion's going to be going back into the jungle, so maybe a little bit less weird as far as coming out of him specifically.
I want Leon to pick a role already so I can finally start analyzing what he's going to do, because I was already, I saw the Sylvanas mid, I was seeing these Agnes, like, this man is playing so well, he's getting all this damage off, and now he's back to jungle, which we already know that he's seen lots of success at, and here we're going to see some sick Mercury play. The man is so versatile, he can play lots of different roles, and he can do it well as being a crazy shot caller, but I think that in the jungle is where he's really going to come to fruition here.
And I kind of want to lean in here on Snoopy a little bit because during the SPL qualifier stage a few weeks back, he was playing like 2 gods. He was playing like Cupid and Charybdis were pretty much the only ones that he was going towards. And even in these sets, we weren't seeing a whole lot of flex away from that. You can see Snoopy was on the Charybdis in that game, still going through. So the fact that Snoopy specifically hasn't really had to show his hand very much, and the fact that even if Medusa and Izanami are open, it seems that he's more than willing to just stick to 1 or 2 solid comfort picks, and so far it's been working for him.
Yeah, it definitely has been working for him, but I wouldn't say that's a tell of he doesn't have a good god pool, obviously, because this meta does appreciate every sort of pick that he likes to go for. I've seen on stream recently he's been playing a lot of different picks as well, so I think this is more so just getting him comfort picks that he's okay with, but if he got banned out, I think Snoopy definitely can dive even deeper into that god pool. I mean, I've seen him whip out the Ho-Yis, the Medusas. I know that the Ho-Yi hasn't had too much success right now, but he definitely can play it.
Yeah, I think that may have been like kind of his third pick between that Charybdis, between these Nami, and then the Ho-Yi kind of flexing over to there. But yeah, it kind of seems that you don't really want to ban out the hunters. I mean, we've been seeing Medusa, Izanami, but that's just because they're kind of the top 2 hunters right now. No, though we have been seeing a lot more success out of Medusa than the Izanami, still no reason to kind of scoff at the fact of how powerful Izanami is. Let's jump into picks and bans, though, for game number 1, just to see where the priority lies for these 2 teams. When it comes down to teams against Sturdy Artisans, Trelly, number 1 has almost always been ESET jungle ban against this team. Do you expect that we'll see it here?
I mean, that depends. I mean, I think that I think that they definitely could if that's the route they want to go. Sino does have a lot of success with a lot of different sort of picks, but ESET right now with the flat pen meta is going to be very strong. Stone of Binding is very prominent right now on her specifically, and it's a good item in the meta. So if they do, want to take that pressure away from Sino in the very least, I think, banning that away could be a route that they want to go here. But it looks like already Serket is going to be taken off the board, and Serket has been super strong right now, not only in the jungle, but also as a support pick as well.
Yeah, not just Serket. Fenrir has also been seeing a lot of success in both of those roles, so namely both of those will be banned out here by the Sturdy Artisans. And Leoncitos will take the Amaterasu, who's been kind of the top solo laner as of this last little bit of a meta, and Bastet, which is still weird for me to say that Bastet solo is one of the big things in the meta, but we can all thank Nika for that one when he popped it out a few weeks ago, and he's like, yeah, it's just good. You just play full damage solo, and it doesn't matter. And I mean, numbers don't lie here. This Bastet has been seeing a ton of success, Trelly.
Yeah, Bastet right now just has everything that you really want, because she used to have this thing where she didn't have that CC immunity and she was a little bit easy to lock down, but now that she's got that CC immunity in the Huntress of Bast, I mean, she can jump in, get crazy poke, jump out. She's very safe. The juke potential is just too much. She's really hard to gank as well, so just getting rid of Bastet, saying I don't want to deal with that, I don't want to, keep my beads off cooldown as well, I could definitely see this taking rid of Bastet.
Well, one god that has been kind of living through all of these metas has been Artias. She does get banned away here by the Sturdy Artisans, and then Leoncitos will go ahead and take the Kraken off the board. Maybe a little surprising, but also not surprised at all the fact that who it is. Sturdy Artisans lock in Zeus for a first pick, who's been seeing a little bit of back and forth as far as how popular that he's been. I know with the double flat pin, Agni, Thought, those have kind of been the 2 that you go towards. But Moswell is no stranger to this pick.
Yeah, for me, when I think of Moswell, I think of these immobile mid-mages that can do crazy damage. I mean, remember when he was playing those Outplashes and stuff like that?
I love
where
it.
He's okay with getting focused. He finds success on these picks where he's going to be immobile, he's going to do crazy damage, but he's also going to die in the process. But I think Moswell, he flourishes when he gets these sort of picks like this. This is his style.
And even with kind of the change that we've been seeing to Obelisk now, now that it deals more damage to you, you don't get as much value out of those offerings. It still seems that Leoncitos as a team here with Hurrywin and Snoopy, they want to keep putting that pressure in the dual lane. They want to make sure that they can prioritize their picks, and they do so here in their top 2, Charybdis and Bacchus. How do you kind of feel about this lane just in general, especially with Bacchus coming back in the meta, Trelly?
Yeah, I love what Leoncitos is doing here. I think prioritizing the dual lane, as you said, because of that Obelisk and because there's a lot more farm on that side of the map right now, I think just making sure your ADC has some pressure, making sure you have a great support to back that up. Level 2 fights are very important right now, and as we've been saying all week, Bacchus with that Frenzy is just going to create so much pressure already at that level 2 mark, so I like this lane a lot from Leoncitos.
Maybe talking a little bit about anti-pressure here. I mean, you have an Athena locked in and a Chiron, so one god that can taunt Bacchus immediately out of that belch or just taunt people in general. It's such a powerful ability on that god, and then Chiron with that kind of built-in cleanse here. I'm maybe a little surprised of how little that we've seen Athena over the last couple of years, but it seems in these last few weeks of play that she's been getting at least some kind of, picks here and there.
Yeah, ever since she got that buff where the taunt ended up doing damage, it seemed like we saw a big influx of Athena, but ever since then she's sort of fallen by the wayside, and I think that is because her early clear's not the best. You can body block the dash, and then her clear's not as great as these Bacchuses or these other level 2 fighters. But yeah, Athena, if you want to play a little bit passive in the lane, I think Athena does come online very strong at the level 5 when she can use that Defender of Olympus to get all across the map. So I think Athena's a great pick if you do want to sacrifice a little bit of that early pressure.
Persephone Bologna now locked in on the side of Leoncitos. Bans are Scotty, Sun Wukong, and then Shock and Da Ji banned by the Sturdy Artisans. So we do see a little bit of respect, though, towards Sino. Scotty did really well last week, but maybe the most surprising thing of all, we're seeing an actual assassin locked in by Sino. Sure.
I gotta be honest with you. I half think this is an Athena jungle just because of the fact that there's no way this man's going a normal
Where's Nem
pick.
going then? Nem
No,
support?
I know that it's probably Sino playing Nemesis, but just based on what he does and how he likes to throw people off, or maybe even Guan jungle at this point, I just want Sino to throw a wrench in our plans because I did not expect a traditional draft from the Sturdy Artisans. I mean, maybe it is game one, so maybe they just want to like, you know what, we'll get the lead, we'll go something solid, just a cookie cutter draft that this covers all our bases. Really, it's got good peel, it's got engage, it's got good, defense as well. So I do like their draft. It's just not a Sturdy Artisans draft for me.
Yeah, it's one of those, we're always told to expect the unexpected. Well, I guess our unexpected is the fact that Sino is grabbing one of these traditional assassins paired up with the Guan Yu. And then to round out the Leoncitos draft is a Hun Bat. It's a god that always bounces himself in and out of metas. We'll see him really hot for like 2 weeks at a time, and then he's maybe one person will kind of pick him up here, but Hun Bats, especially with that Fear No Evil, just feels like he can almost always be relevant, Trulli.
Well, for me, I think El Leon is a shot caller that can make this pick work very well. Because if you're not fighting around the Fear No Evil, you're not getting the value out of this Hoonbats pick. I mean, the ultimate is the character, right? You're picking Hoonbats for that team fight ultimate, for these huge CCs, and then you're backing out, right? If you don't have the Fear No Evil, you're not fighting. So I think this sort of draft, this sort of team, is the kind of team that can make that Fear No Evil work effectively.
Sturdy Artisans versus Leoncitos, game number 1 of their qualification game. Winner of this set moves into the NASCC. Losers got a little bit of a longer road to get there. And it will be the Nemesis jungle. No surprise that it would be a Nemesis jungle here, more so just surprise. It is on the side of Sturdy Artisans. We got Doug standing by here too as our observer once again for the day. But Sturdy Artisans grouping up around mid. Very interesting to say the least that they'd be popping themselves out here. Mostly just trying to get some ward coverage out there. I'm not even sure if they even threw a ward up into the right. I thought maybe they were throwing a ward up there.
Yeah, so most of the time when people pick Persephone, everyone kind of squads up here just in case she pushes too far up with those flowers and they can get an early pick here. But, I mean, Spreen's not going to walk too far up. I think at the very least he's seeing that, hey, maybe if I don't push these flowers up too far, I don't put myself out of position here. So I think they were just grouping just in case Spreen got a little bit happy there. But obviously, I think we all knew where the Nemesis was going. I just wanted to see if Sino could have thrown a wrench in our plans and said, you know what, bait it. It's actually Guan jungle or something like that. But typical start here, but it looks like Griff is going to help with the red buff, and we're going back to that solo jungle meta that I love so much, that early 2v2 in solo lane.
Man, it's been such a long time since we've seen starts like that, and really, talking with Coach Satadragon, kind of privately on these things, he said that he's one of the ones who kind of put the Pioneer towards this style of start. Him and his team were jumping this one in. Everybody else just copying him and what his team are doing. But I mean, this is a start that kind of min-maxes the fact that, your blue buff's coming up a little bit later, your jungler is able to get a little bit of help to rotate in, but man, it's been so long since we've seen that 2v2. What was it, like season 3, 4 that we finally got to see those kind of actual brawls?
Oh yeah, it's been quite some time, and I just appreciate this so much more because right now you don't want to be fighting with your Persephone and your Zeus at level 1. You want to be brawling level 2 warrior v assassin, actually able to trade and poke, because right now, I mean, if a Guan Yu, we could have some bait. Oh, it looks like 2 might go down here if El Leon does it. Nope, they don't have the Relentless one's going for it.
He's gonna get it. Tallow Assault will be good. He will trade out his life though, so it'll be a 2-for-1 trade here. The Sturdy Artisans come up first on the board, taking out both of them. And then at 2v2 on the right side, now a Frenzy popped on the left side of the map, dashed in by Gino, but he's going to get belly flopped instantly, and Snoopy, with that Whirlpool form, will be able to get out of danger. So no kills in the duo lane, but 2 quick ones out there for Sturdy Artisan on the right side.
This is exactly what I'm talking about, though. Both teams felt like they could trade blows in that solo lane. Usually right now, beautiful taunt from Geno. It's going to get the beats down from Snoopy as they back off. Both teams felt like they could fight there. Obviously, Leoncitos bit off a little bit more than they could chew and ended up, at least they got 1 kill there, but getting 2 kills on Relentless one is going to be very rough in this lane specifically. But Sino already trying to get active again.
Sino really hunting for some blood early on in this game, but the fact that he's got the 2 assists, 2 kills going to Relentless one, definitely not the end of the world. You can get your solo laner a little bit further ahead to start things off. You see a tier 2 heavy hammer already. Could be going up towards that very early Rune Forge on Relentless one for this Guan Yu, an item that's been seeing an immense amount of popularity, so to speak. I mean, especially on a god like Guan Yu, feels like Runeforge is just a perfect fit for him.
Oh yeah, Runeforge procs on the horse. He's got his slows if he needs to. It's a very CC filled comp as is, so as long as you got this big HP, Guan is one of those picks where you do have these auto attack warriors that are in the meta right now. If you can build Berserker Shield or Death Toll, you can do very well. But Guan Yu just has all those cooldown resets. He has ways to fight into these auto attackers, so I feel like he does have the success in lane. Whereas most of these Bluestone warriors are not finding that much success. Guan is able to still survive and brawl in these lanes.
Hurrywin does not want to give up the fact to try and fight over this purple buff, to say the least. Snoopy around the corner will do some damage towards Griff. The purple buff does get secured here by the sturdy Artisans, so you don't have to worry about losing any of that XP, at least at the very beginning here. But Hurrywin on this Bacchus playing very aggressively, and such is the nature of this guy. I mean, especially, actually, he didn't even go for the Frenzy. He went for a sprint first off, which is probably one of the more surprising things is that's not a relic that we typically see as a first pick. It's usually kind of a counter pick one.
Yeah, for me, I think Hurrywin's just a little bit worried about Sino coming over and ganking. It also would help with the horse as well from Relentless One if he does make a huge rotation. So I think Hurry wants to be able to flop in and then not worry about that Nemesis slow, so he can just sprint out if need be. Hurrywin has been being very aggressive right now. I don't think he wants to hold back on those flops. If you do pick Bacchus right now, I don't think you want to be, playing back and being careful. I think you want to constantly be W keying. So Hurry said, you know what, I'm going to be flopping in every chance I get, going for those belly flops, those knockups, and the sprint will just be there in case I mess up.
Great rotation in. Elion does have the ultimate. Beads a little early by Griff. Gino does get caught out. Sino's here, pops the ult of his own, but doesn't have enough damage to fight this one back. Slice and dice, though, does find it. But not after Snoopy at least picks up a second one for the kill. It's 30 Artisans now tied at 3-3 off a nice rotation from Leoncitos.
Props to Griff for landing that one. I really thought that Sino was just going in to die there, but it looks like he did get just enough damage off so that Griff could trade with Leon there. 2-2 on the jungle for the Leoncitos here. I mean, already having 2 deaths, but 2 kills at 4 minutes. This is a very action-packed game so far.
Could be even more so. Griff is by themselves. Hurrywin walking limberly towards Griff at this point, but not going to find anything. Just going back to the jungle. A very safe hunter to say the least, especially with that giddy up and get him such a far distance. But all this action's been happening in the side lanes. Nobody's been really caring about what's been going on in this mid lane. And Moswall, and specifically a god like Zeus, is not a god that you want to ignore for the first 15 minutes of the game.
Absolutely. I think that, if anything, I mean, look at the start that Moswell's went for here. Obviously, the Eye of the Jungle into the Legion Helm. Very tanky right now, and to anyone that does physical damage. So, at the very least, I don't think anyone wants to try to fight him, but if you are going to let this Zeus just free farm and stay back, late game, he's going to come online. He's going to come online hard. I have to agree with you. This is not one of those picks you want to leave at the wayside.
Relentless One, we'll just make sure and grab his Totem of Coup, which control has mostly been going towards the way of Leoncitos here. That's the first one that sturdy Artisans are able to pick up. And that'll help out at least a little bit in these side lanes where they've been kind of going back and forth, especially in the duo lane where that aggression has been in favor of Snoopy and Hurrywin on the side of Leoncitos. But now we finally see a little group up here in towards the mid lane, Gino and Moswall teaming up. But Gino not going for the Gauntlet of Thieves. Instead, it will be an early rush of just some physical defense. Sovereignty going to be the first item up for the support of sturdy Artisans.
Yeah, right now, if Gino is sitting next to Moswell, I can't imagine he ever dies to any sort of physical damage source. I mean, he just has so much brought for this early in the game, and that's why I think Leon's like, you know what, maybe I don't want to go try to fight this Zeus right now because I just don't have that much penetration online with just the Jotun, so I'm going to stay back, keep farming efficiently, and look maybe towards those side lanes because this Zeus he's very safe right now for such an immobile pick.
There's no pen yet for Spreen either. Not going for the traditional double flat pen start or even like the Voidstone or Celestial Legion Helm that's been popping up for some of these mids. Spreen's gone for a Chronos Pendant very early in the game, sitting on that 20% CDR with the help of the Conduit Gem to get a little bit of extra damage. Snoopy, though, in danger. Sino surrounding, but thanks to that Whirlpool form, can get out of danger back to the team. Pops the ultimate just in case. And Gino caught inside the Fear No Evil, taking a lot of damage. Centaurus, though, and Moswall able to take down one. Hurrywin doesn't make it out. That's a kill for Sino. 2 more up on the board for sturdy Artisans. And a good attempted bait there by Snoopy, but just not enough.
Yeah, it just seemed like they didn't expect the Chain Lightning to do that much damage, and obviously Moswell made a clutch rotation over there. Defender of Olympus over here just to get this blue buff. They are playing the map just perfectly right now. I mean, you're invading purple buff on the left side of the map. You can go over, get blue on the right after you won that fight. I mean, these are the kind of small wins that are going to turn to huge wins for the sturdy Artisans.
What a nice guy, Relentless, making sure that the support can have some kind of buff here. I mean, obviously, supports do have a green buff. That's nice, but if you can get a blue buff as support, that extra 10% CDR always does feel really good here. And, talking about, we have the Gauntlet of Thieves on the side for Hurrywin. Now, we see Gino starting to opt towards that. Could potentially just see it finished up here, though there are maybe a couple of options that they can go outside of Thieves.
Yeah, I think Thieves is usually the general way of thumb, but I guess suppose you could, if you wanted to mail of renewal, maybe, that would be a route that you wanted to go down. But I think Athena right now is just trying to get as many auras as possible, ult to her team, taunt, set up every sort of damage that you could ever want. Is just playing that role very well right now, and obviously they're going to dial it back because they don't really want to take this fight. They don't have any ults off cooldowns at the moment.
Definitely going to need some pen to deal with Moswell going towards his second tank item here, or hybrid item, I should at least say. But hold that. Sino goes in with Blink Ultimate, finds Heed, but doesn't find much beyond there. Instead, it's a stun onto Hurrywin from the Cavalry out of Relentless One. Snoopy finds kill on the other side of the map, and the cage comes out from the mid lane. Relentless One caught out and picked off. Gino stuck inside the plant. Can't find a way out. Moswell gets some good damage out. Heed, not quite enough, but Sino will have enough damage to take them down. Hurrywin now on the run from Moswell, who is just chasing him out on this Zeus. Hurrywin has a long way to go if they want to get away from the barrage of sturdy artisans.
I don't think Geno's going to have this gank here. Hurrywin does have a lot of HP, and Moswell, and yeah, the abilities are down. I don't think that any way they try to aggress onto this Bacchus here, but Snoopy finding a solo kill while that fight was going on, and this Hoonbat's found a great re-engage there. Leon had a great Fear No Evil. I think that this is where that pick really shines, not really as an initiate right now, but as the counter-initiate. Works out pretty well for them, but unfortunately, Sturdy Artisans are still able to find one as well. They're trading blows very effectively.
Hurrywin might be in danger here. Chain Lightning does hit. It's the slow and some damage from the Detonate. Nice, but not enough. It's good Hurrywin. That shield was down off that potential fight up against Snoopy over on the left-hand side. So Moswell didn't have that full kit at his disposal. Sino will steal away that blue buff. Will be able to make it out for now, though. Eagles Rally slows it down, but a Defender of Olympus to re-engage the fight in, and now Gino has returned to the fight, and Heed is falling low. He does get the bludgeon slam, and Spreen cleans up the kill. Sino, the first one down in the fight, stole the blue, but pays with his life.
Yeah, I think this is just a case of Moswell not rotating. Spreen made it over here first. That ult does have a global presence, so once that Grasping Death comes all the way across the map, I mean, Moswell just gotta say, hey guys, I'm sorry I couldn't make it to this one. I'm gonna push the wave, so excellent rotation by Spreen there. LEONCITOS find themselves back in the driver's seat here over in the solo lane.
It is a nice little early start that the Sturdy Artisans had. 400 gold, 1,300 experience. Nothing really much here, only 10 minutes in the game, essentially dead even at that point. But it's been back and forth. I mean, we had a double kill start out of Sturdy Artisans, and it was return fire immediately on the opposite side of the map, where it was a 2-1 in the solo lane for the Sturdy Artisans, and a 2-1 for LEONCITOS in the duo. It's kind of kept this game as a net even wash here.
Yeah, the only place you're really feeling that lead right now is in the solo lane. Heed 0-2, not able to grab any of those kills, just some assists. So that duo lane right now is down 2 levels. So Heed is going to have to play very carefully into this Guan Yu, and it looks like Sino is pressuring over on that solo lane side of the map as we speak. And it looks like Snoopy's over here at Cold Fury as well.
Maybe to start up, Heed under fire under the solo lane tier 1 tower, I should say. Ult is good for Relentless One, and the the Tallow Assault afterwards is enough to shred away some of that HP for Sino to clean up the kill. Taunted in by Gino only against Spreen. Spreen not going to pop those Bs, recognizing Moswell not in the area in order to get that kill. And we're talking about second items out of supports here. Hurrywin actually opting for a Magi's Cloak second item.
It looks like Hurrywin's just as worried about that taunt as everyone else at this point. I mean, you don't want to be constantly being taunted out of your belch, because that is like one of your main forms of damage here. If you're not hitting that flop, you have to be at least be getting that belch. But already a big fight over here at this blue buff.
Fear No Evil is good. Sino, though, does get to live through. And he'll take down Hurrywin, but the Grasp of Death just off the mark. Doesn't find Relentless or Gino. So there'll be no lockdown. Leon will bat away as much as they can up against Relentless One. With Gino here, Taunt coming back up momentarily. That should be the end of the fight in the solo, but now it's the mid laners duking it out, and it's Moswell who comes up big in the fight. He'll get his second kill of the game.
Look at his build, man. He's already got Voidstone now. Moswell is just, he's never going to lose that 1v1 in the jungle. I mean, Spreen already threw his ult out at that point, so it's pretty much just, oh, your jump's down, I used everything, sorry. Mosswell makes that late rotation over, but finds a free kill onto the Persephone, and now sitting pretty, level 13, tied for highest in the game. He's got plenty of gold at this point. I mean, this Zeus, who you'd expect to be the first target in these fights, right? I mean, this Zeus, this immobile pick that just does crazy damage but really has no sort of CC immunity, is now sitting very pretty and is going to be even tougher to kill right now.
And it's one of those things that we've talked about with a player like Mosswell. Whenever he picks things like Hell, one of our questions we always ask whenever he plays Hells or when we see Aphrodite's is, how are you going to play against this god? Well, some of the answers have been, we're going to play around the god. We're not going to let Mosswell be a part of these fights. And they've been doing a fairly good job of that so far, not letting Mosswell really jump into some of these fights. The problem is, though, is now Mosswell's at the point where he's picking the fights himself. He is forcing the team to deal with him, and so far they've not been able to. Grasp of Death and Fear No Evil expended. That puts Mosswell down to half health, and finally they might get an opportunity to take out this Zeus. El Leon will deal the final blow, but now Sino has returned back in. Beads away from the Hun Bats, and Tar's shot's not enough to take them out. Leon not going to make it out of here as Griff with a Master shot right after will take him out.
I'm not sure if that timer just matched up or if Mosswell had the beads and just Ego didn't use them there. He did use the Aegis a little bit late, but I just think that he held on to those beads there thinking maybe the Defender of Olympus would come through or something. I think his team was just a little bit out of the wayside there, but this is exactly what El Leon needs to do. Look at this Zeus right now because he is a big issue. Unfortunately, when you do look at Zeus, you leave yourself susceptible to that counter gank where Sino can just come in after the fact, and it looks like Geno's in a little bit of trouble over here by this purple.
Will take the bubble away from Hurrywin. Ate a lot of poke trying to get some damage out there and trying to remove that bubble, but Geno will be fine, nice and tanky, does have that Gauntlet of Thieves, and now has started up the Gold Fury. Sturdy Artisans with the control, not willing to commit to it, especially with Hurrywin sticking by. And Geno and Sino team up to take out these mid camps, but kind of going back to the Zeus, you know, we were saying that Mosswell wants to pick these fights, and he's going to win 9 times out of 10 these 1v1s, but this time he stepped up to a 2v1, doesn't make it out of there. Hurrywin will make it out of this fight, though. But I think you're right to call out here that this is what LEONCITOS needs, is to get these picks up against Mosswell and maybe try and stop this Gold Fury. Sturdy Artisans will get it. Hurrywin in danger. Tallow Assault and the Cavalry charge now by Relentless One to go in. Hurrywin, no chance of getting out of here. The question is, who's going to get the kill? Well, it's going to be the solo laner.
Yeah, at this point, Relentless One is just too massive. I think he'd made the right call there. Let's just pull the Pyromancer. I'm not going to make that rotation over. There's too much farm to be had where you're going to go 50-50 for a Gold Free when you're a level 12 Bellona with no, I mean, there's just no way. I think he needs to get all the farm he can right now. Getting the Pyromancer was a small trade, but losing this tier 2 plus Gold Fury, that's going to start to be real rough.
Tier 1 already does negate the gold that that Pyromancer gave, and if Snoopy can make it out of here alive, that'll be big, at least for LEONCITOS to not lose out on too much. But losing Tier 1, Tier 2, and Gold Fury, traded out by Pyro in a Tier 1 on the right side of the map. Gold, still about 2,500 up for Sturdy Artisans here, about 4,000 gold. And now stripping away the last couple of offerings needed out of this obelisk. Not going to get everything that they need, still need one more, but that'll be Griff. He'll be able to close that up and pick up the final offering. Now we get to see this obelisk come back online. And Charlie, we're kind of at the point of the game here. I mean, when you're getting these obelisks, at this point, are you just giving it over to that support player? Or are you letting your jungler kind of pick it up at this point?
I think it just depends on who you really want to be aggressing on right now, but I think right now your support is still going to be your best option. I mean, Geno's making all of these rotations, constantly going in first, stopping those blinks if he does get in combat, those sort of things. So I think it's still best on Geno, but if Sino wants to take those 1v1s, he definitely could pick it up. It looks like they are going to give it over to Geno. I think that is the right play because he's just so global right now. He can be anywhere at once, and he's always going to be your initiator. So just getting that damage online, making sure he's up in everyone's face, I think that's the best call.
A little bit of a group up here around Fire Giant. That's the last major objective standing on the map, at least for now. Totemoku, this will be the last one that goes down, but kind of looking across the way for the builds here on the mid laners. We've been talking about the tankier style that Mosswell's been going here. Talked about the kind of lack of the double flat pin that normally you see out of the mid laners. Spreen instead, after getting their single flat pen and a Chronos pendant, Staff of Mirrodin may be the more interesting item that's kind of popped up here.
Yeah, it seems like Spreen wants to have his jump on cooldown as much as possible. That's why he started that Chronos pendant as well. So I think when you're using Persephone, a big portion of your burst is actually when you put that 2 below you and then jump and get a big explosion of the flowers. So if Spreen is wanting to peel for himself with damage, I think this is an interesting way to go. I think Staff of Mirrodin is one of those items where it really just depends on the character you're running if it's going to get that value, and Persephone can definitely make some decent use of it.
Gino up front will be confronted by Snoopy and Hurrywin. Still dancing around this fire giant, but no team really willing to pull it just yet. I mean, it's a fairly even game here at this point. Nobody has any kind of monumental lead, mostly just looking for potential picks over anything else. And the fact that they pulled Griff out of this lane to try and keep their eyes on this side means that both these teams really are hunting for an opportunity to try and grab this objective. But neither of them are willing to bite so far. It seems that they're more than willing to go ahead and back off, just get a little bit of that neutral farm.
Yeah, even with this small lead that Sturdy Artisans have created for themselves here, I mean, it still is a little bit of a challenge pulling this objective. You do have the Bracer, you do have the Girdle of Frenzy, or the Belt of Frenzy, rather. You do have a lot of objective damage. With the Detonate, you have a pretty sick Confirm as well, but that Fear No Evil, it's just always going to throw a wrench in your plans. You never know if you want to pre-beads it, do you want to waste your beads on the Confirm. As long as Leon has that Fear No Evil available, a Fire Giant Cole could be pretty disastrous here.
On Hurrywin, a lot of damage from the Zeus, and ult in by Relentless One with Defender of Olympus crashing down. Hurrywin barely lives on the tiniest sliver of health, but it's Griff to deal the final blow. Ultimate out of Spreen to keep Sino away, but Moswell will not be kept away. Lightning Storm out of the mid laner, gets a second pick.
You hate to see it. Moswell got him barely with the tick of that Lightning Storm. Belt of Frenzy has popped. I don't think anyone's going to be able to walk up this Fire Giant. It's getting shredded so quickly. Leon almost made it out. He barely survived that onslaught from Sino, and then Moswell just fade away Lightning Storm over the wall, gets one tick on him, and finishes him off.
Good kill there by Sturdy Artisans. 2 picks and a Fire Giant now for the Order side team. And they can go ahead and strip away the last towers on the map. Right side tier 2 should go rather swiftly now that the minions have made their way in. Mid lane pushed a little bit farther back. You can actually see that Spreen has elected to go steal away this red buff, really push that lane up some, and kind of delay Sturdy Artisans more than anything. But as we start getting towards these Phoenix Sieges, Trelly, kind of what's the shining hope for Leoncitos on some of these defenses?
I mean, J-Mac, when I'm looking at the relic usage of Sturdy Artisans right now, Moswell has not used either of his defensive relics, and he is doing so much damage right there. I mean, I'm just worried that if you're going for this Phoenix Siege, if that's your big play, because you have the Fear No Evil, you're sitting under the Phoenix, you're hoping that everyone pushes into you, it's just someone has to get to this Zeus. I think that is your big play right now. Can someone get to this Zeus right now? Because at the very least, you need to find a pick, and it seems like no one's killing the frontliners right now. I mean, Snoopy does have the kin size online, but the Silver Branch isn't being built yet, so no sort of percentage pen for the ADC. But it looks like they are going to look for a pick over here on Sino.
Fear No Evil, well off the mark. Sino will box back up against Spreen, slice and dice off the mark. Sino should go down here, but he's got backup out of Relentless One. Will jump off the horse and take down the mid laner to finish the job that Sino had started. And now the real cavalry has arrived. Gino right at the front line. Hurrywin loses out on that Magi's cloak, but Isha won't be able to go far. Jumps into the purple buff, and that'll be the last place that he gets to go, at least for now. 33 seconds on the grayscale screen for the support.
J-Mac, it seems like they just had to go for a pick there because they weren't confident about winning that Phoenix fight. Unfortunate that Blink Fear No Evil was off the mark. Sino eventually turns it onto Spreen, gets him to 1 HP. Relentless One's able to finish it off. I mean, if that Fear No Evil did connect, maybe they had a shot at picking Sino there, but he was ready for it. I mean, he was ready for the gank coming out of the side, and then just no pick there turns into you lose 2 members, and now you can't defend at all.
They're gonna just walk through the base. They, being the Sturdy Artisans, will kind of just casually stroll around Leoncito's own base, walk up, take their last tower on the map. Tier 2 in mid goes down. Left side Phoenix was kind of the extra prize there for the Sturdy Artisans after they got a pick on Spreen and Hurrywin. And this gold lead now 7,500 experience, even more so 8,500 up. And the Sturdy Artisans are primed to take game number 1 here, 21 minutes in. Hurrywin, you don't have your bubble this time around. You don't have a way to get out of the CC. He'll go down quickly. Griff gets the kill, but Relentless gets stuck inside the grasp of death. Centaurus shots dealing good damage to Heed. And the Master shot right after some extra good poke. Sturdy Artisans, though, still well in control of this map.
This is the benefit of having a Guan Yu on your team. Relentless One can just heal up the squad whenever they need. Fear No Evil goes down, the push begins.
Sino goes in the backline, slice and dice into auto. He'll find one in the depths of everything, but Snoopy will trade out the pick. Now it's Heed stuck in the middle of 4. He'll jump away. Moswell off the mark. with the chain lightning. Ultimate from Snoopy off the mark, and the lightning storm out of the mid laner to turn things back around, and Heed has to use the Aegis to get away from the detonate. Barely makes that one out. And the same with Gino, but right side Phoenix goes down. And now with a little bit of low health bars on the side of Sturdy Artisans, they may just back themselves up here, especially with Gino not having ult.
I don't know, Relentless One's ult almost back off cooldown. Spamming those heals is going to do that for you. It looks like they might be posturing for this, but you know what? They decided better on it. They got 2 Phoenixes at this point. I don't think you really want to gamble with that Phoenix there. You just go back, get the Pyromancer, get Gold Fury, come back with another FG, and you should be fine just to push that one in. But I think Sturdy Artisans got everything they want there. Besides losing Sino on that push, I mean, you don't have to end at this point. You have the lead. You have everything you need to just keep pushing everything. I think they just sit back, and they're sitting pretty with the 2 Phoenixes.
Look at the gold in hand just for Griff alone. 4K once this Primal Fury goes down, 3K out of Relentless One. That's going to be some massive power spikes coming up for these 2 players. I mean, everybody, aside from support, was sitting at 2 to 2,500 plus thousand gold here. At this point, going back to base is only going to make it worse for the LEONCITOS, because Sturdy Artisans are going to be coming back with a vengeance.
Oh yeah, they're definitely going to be coming back for a vengeance. That's a good way to put it. I mean, at this point, Moswell's upgraded his starter, and he still has not used those relics, J-Mac. I mean, no one is getting to the Zeus right now, which means you're just getting consistently detonated off cooldown. The Lightning Storm is pretty much breaking up any sort of fights you want to go for. And look at this grouping right here. This is an El Leon call if I've ever seen one. You got minions pushing in, but you're grouping up looking for the pick right now before FG spawns.
Hurrywin tried to belly flop over the taunt so he doesn't lose his bubble, but he still ends up getting hit right before that one goes off. 60 seconds before that item's cooldown comes back up. But all 5 from LEONCITOS around the backside of the fire, diving in towards Griffin Moswell, but Moswell is happy to return this fire back through. Lightning Storm to separate the team fight and a grasp of death on the right side, but it's Griff who picks up Heed, the first casualty of the fight, and Hurrywin should be the next one going out. Gino not going to be able to get the last bit of damage, but Sino will. Snoopy up in the maw, trying to run as fast as they can, but won't find anybody with the shot. It's Spreen down, Snoopy down, and only El Leon to defend as the fire minions pour into the base. And Sturdy Artisans don't need the fire. They can just march their way right in and take game number 1.
J-Mac, I gotta be honest, I don't hate the call. It's one of those calls that if it works out, everyone calls you a genius, and if it doesn't, everyone says, why'd you throw the game there? But, I mean, right now it was looking quite grim. I don't really think they had any sort of damage that could get and stop this siege, so that Fire Giant would have spelled disaster anyways. Try for a fight behind Phoenix, I like it.
Yeah, Sturdy Artisans, they will come up victorious here in game number 1. A good pushback by LEONCITOS, but it's just so hard to fight into a Lightning Storm, especially when the Zeus is that far ahead. I mean, Heed makes the right play. Go to the back line. Try and get the Zeus that we've been trying for so long, and a Fear No Evil to boot with it. But all it took, man, Charlie, that one Lightning Storm just keeps everybody away in that fight. And Sturdy Artisans, they come up with a big win here.
Yeah, I mean, I think you have to outplay your opponent pretty hard to even find a pick during that scene. So I think everything they tried, you know, they were just grasping at straws. They're trying to make something out of a not great situation. Just game 1, though. They have a chance to come back. So we'll give the first one to Sturdy Artisans and see what LEONCITOS can do.
Yeah, game number 1 does go to Sturdy Artisans, but in this best of 3, there's always a chance to come back. We'll see if LEONCITOS can do that right after this. Game number 1 was a fresh look at the Sturdy Artisans picking a more traditional composition, at least around Cyno specifically in that jungle. That Nemesis looked really nice there in game number 1, finding some good picks. But I think, Charlie, kind of the one big thing that we were talking a lot about in the early game, and even at the late game we saw them trying to go for it on the side of LEONCITOS, was attempting to shut down Moswall, but for like the first, 10, 12 minutes of the game, Moswall kind of just got to free farm.
Yeah, for me, I think that they put a lot of pressure, Sturdy Artisans put a lot of pressure into that solo lane, getting Relentless one ahead on that Guan Yu pick. And then it seemed like Leon was trying to match those Cyno rotations, but I think if you just dial it back, look, probably get Snoopy ahead. He already was a little bit ahead at the beginning. Maybe you just go for that dual lane instead and just say, hey, sorry, Heed, you're going to be like getting a little bit behind there. I think they had a lot more success as they tried to dive. When you try to dive when your solo lane's behind, it doesn't go very well.
Yeah, and especially when you're trying to pick a fight with a Zeus in the jungle. Even though we did see Spring jump over the chain lightning there initially, unfortunately for him, it ended up bouncing to a camp right next to him, so didn't get the end. And then there's that one little pick by Miles, that cheeky walk up, drop your forward, detonate, we're good to go kind of deal onto him. So nice little plays here out of the jungler and the mid, and to be expected. I mean, these guys have been playing Smite together for such a long time. I mean, going all the way back to Season 5 when they were paired up together for World Championship status. And I mean, I think you're right to talk about a lot of the pressure towards solo lane. It felt like a lot of this early game was just us calling out Heed's name because Heed was constantly under fire by Cyno.
Yeah, it just seemed like Cyno wanted to make sure that Relentless one's ahead, and then once you have a fed solo laner, I mean, the whole game just becomes a whole lot easier. You can make those rotations for that early Gold Fury like they did, or you can just say, hey, we're going to stop the aggression on this side of the map, whatever you really want to do, because you have this tanky target, your penetration's not built online yet, he's got teleport if he wants to use it, but you didn't opt to go for it that game, so it just depends on what you want to do with it. And so playing off of this solo lane is definitely going to be another contention point for the Artisans. So LEONCITOS needs to A, stop that pressure, or B, look for it elsewhere in that duo lane.
I mean, and they had two good gods to do in the duel. I mean, Bacchus and Charybdis, great gods to do so. They managed to get that 2-for-1 trade over in the dual lane after that initial solo lane slaughter. But I think another problem does come out that because Cyno put so much of that solo lane pressure, again, nobody's looking at the 17,000+ damage that Moswall puts out on the Zeus in this game. Charlie, if drafts go similarly here, I mean, how does LEONCITOS really answer to the fact that Moswall's just been left alone most of these games?
I mean, I think you have two options here, right? You either stop that pressure onto Heed so that you have a tanky solo laner that's able to dive this Zeus with you, because if just one, what we saw Leon try to kill Moswall, just, you know, they had to get a lot of damage onto him, and you got the relics down, and he didn't even beat that Fear No Evil, so I think he could have lived there if he didn't have that fed play there. So I think you try to get your solo laner a little bit more farm, and or look for that duo lane pressure, and then maybe you get that team fight element, because right now it just seems like Sturdy Artisans are going to run that solo lane and they're going to run the match.
Now we'll see what adaptations get made here by LEONCITOS. Game number 2, and their last chance to tie up this set at the very least and try and bring this one back here up against Sturdy Artisans. Remember, even with a loss here at a LEONCITOS, they wouldn't be out of the tournament. They just got to make a longer run in the losers bracket. But Sturdy Artisans are one game away from qualifying back into the NASCC here in Season 9 of Smite. But it seems that LEONCITOS are a little bit more concerned about the front line on the side of Sturdy Artisans here. And Athena, first ban.
Yeah, I did put this down in my notes, and I forgot to bring it up. We just didn't have too much time there. But a pick like Zeus is able to succeed and able to look so good because you have a solid front line that's peeling, creating space, letting you use all of your damage effectively. So if Relentless One and Gino, the two brothers, if they're not playing as perfectly as they are creating that space, I mean, you can't succeed on a pick like Zeus like that. So I think taking rid of that Athena is a great way to start.
And I think if the Zeus is giving you a lot of trouble, why risk it for a second one here? They're going to go ahead and ban the Zeus away on the side of LEONCITOS. So getting rid of the main front line, that was a problem, and getting rid of the main damage dealer, that was also an issue here. So LEONCITOS, two strong bans to start things out. But then Serket Amaterasu on the other side, no surprise, as these have been two of the top picks. Would not be shocked if we even potentially saw a Fenrir ban, but maybe throwing a little bit more respect towards Moswall, another ban towards him, Hell, this time around.
I mean, I don't hate it. I think the Zeus, if you don't have a way to deal with it, which they clearly did in that game, if you don't have a way to just say, no more Zeus, shut this down, no more damage, just ban it away. The Hell is the same style of pick, this time a little bit more CC oriented, you know, can cleanse your team, speed them up, that sort of thing. But an immobile mage that has a lot of damage, to me, that screams Hell and Zeus. So get rid of both of those, and now pick yourself some aggression. You got the Fenrir, I like it.
Yeah, Fenrir, first pick here for LEONCITOS after a Cabrakan third ban on the side of Sturdy Artisans. But Sturdy Artisans are now going to take a page out of LEONCITOS' book. They're going to go ahead and pick up the Charybdis and make Snoopy play something else. But we've seen what Snoopy can do on some of those other picks, especially with Ho Yi, with how popular he was during the SPL qualifier stage and how much that god really popped off then. Wouldn't be surprised if we saw that go there. And then you kind of match that up here. So a little bit of a different look in the duo lane now. Horus and Charybdis for Sturdy Artisans.
It looks like they're going to take the Chiron here. This could be a Chiron Fenrir lane, which would be a solid bit of pressure. You would have a lot of aggression, but the Charybdis and the Horus, just to me, that screams early damage out the wazoo. I mean, you just have so much pressure. You're going to have the stuns. Horus at level 2 is one of the more scary guardians out there. I mean, I think if you're Fenrir, you don't want to be jumping into that too often at all. So if this could be a jungle. Obviously, the Fenrir could be flexing in a jungle, but if this is their duel lane, I think they're probably going to want to dial it back more and not really look for that aggression that I was speaking about earlier.
And now we have the Chalk locked in here, which we've seen Chalk jungle pop up a few times. We've also seen Chalk solo lane, his more traditional role. So I'm very curious as to where the Fenrir and the Chalk are going to line out. I would even say there's complete flexibility in this draft just with that Chiron, mid or Hunter, depending on where you want to throw him out. But we'll have to see where everything lines out. Daji and Artio, the next two gods banned away here in the second half of the banning phase, and a Thoth to boot there. So Sturdy Artisans, they've already picked up their mid laner with Merlin, so now they want to try and put the mid lane a little bit further behind, not give them one of those top picks.
Yeah, Daji would definitely be a little bit rough with this Merlin to deal with, obviously, and no form of CC immunity there. Same sort of style as this Zeus, so I definitely see why they want to get rid of that Daji. Just being able to stick to your mage like that is never a fun time here. But the Guan Yu, possible run back, could be flexing as we know, but I mean, when you have a performance like Relentless One just did, I don't see why you wouldn't. But Bastet, I just realized Bastet made it this far into the picks and bans, is able to be picked up 8th slot? That's insane.
Yeah, not very often we see a Bastet fall this far down in the draft, and I'm still going to leave it up there. I have absolutely no idea where all these picks are going. Now with the Zhang Kui locked in, we can probably at least kind of rest our laurels on Zhang Kui into the mid, Chiron over into the Hunter role, but I still am not quite sure where the Fen, the Chalk, the Bastet will fully line themselves out. And now, going back to the classic, we were talking a little bit about the potential of a Guan Yu jungle mix-up here, but for Sino, one of his best picks, one of his most banned picks up against him, he's going back to his classic, he set jungle.
Yeah, I think this is exactly the draft that the Sturdy Artisans wanted. I mean, Relentless One played so well in the Guan, just making sure he gets on that. Maswell, we've already mentioned his god pool. Anything that he really wants, he's able to get because you can't ban him out completely. That Merlin he's had so much success on. And I think for my money, we can say that this is probably Hurrywind on that Fenrir. I think they want to get him on that aggressive early support. So for me, I think Sturdy Artisans got exactly what they wanted here.
Pretty classic Sturdy Artisans draft here in game number 2 up against LEONCITOS. So Sturdy Artisans win this, they make it to the NASCC, and they can sit comfortably for the remainder of their weeks up until that starts all up. And as we jump right in, we get to see it will be Bastet back in the jungle this time around. So we do have Chalk in the solo lane, and then Hurrywind taking that Fenrir. Okay, you know, I said I can rest my laurels on it being a Zhang Kui mid.
You did say that.
But no, we're still getting the loop around here by LEONCITOS. Zhang Kui in the duo lane.
I mean, Mannequin Scepter Zhang Kui definitely has some form of viability. It has crazy pressure. You can clear those Harpies very easily. The one thing that is going to be a little bit rough is that early damage from this Horus. But, I mean, if you're just sitting back, if you're just making sure to farm and clear the wave and hopefully not get dove too much, I think Snoopy should be sitting pretty in this lane for quite some time. And I do like the aggression that Zhang Kui can provide late game for sure.
Walk up to people, press 4, and especially with the start of this ring build, Snoopy's going to get a little bit of extra attack speed to really spread that Mannequin Scepter throughout the game. Actually ended up starting with his third ability first so he can get that extra double proc out. And Snoopy is already level 2 walking into lane, as is Griff. So this new start seems to be really favorable, at least towards the Hunters now, because they get 3 different buff camps to get some of that extra experience. Heed in danger. Tallow Assault, Wing Gust right after. First Blood gonna go the way of Sino for the Sturdy Artisans one more time. Aggression in the solo lane has come up big for the Sturdy Artisans.
He's just built different, man. Sino, when he picks E-set, he just does crazy things. It looks like a lot of pokes being thrown to El Leon here again. Just the Spirit Ball into the kill. It's as simple as that. This level 2 fight that you'd think a mage would not be as successful in, as Snoopy takes a lot of damage.
Just going in with that Whirlpool form to try and find the shot up against Hurrywind, but just a little shy of the distance needed. Instead, it'll just be Sturdy Artisans up with that first blood. and maybe a second. Elion walking the jungle, places a ward, and gets spotted out there. Sino not going to be able to get that gank this time around in solo.
Yeah, smart man. He's not going to walk into the corner with an E set possibly hanging around the corner, just walk into a spirit ball there. But this is the kind of aggression that you do not expect to see from a mage jungle, but you do expect to see from Sino, right? I mean, this man, he's going to get active wherever he can. You do have a crazy level 2, as he said, and now level 3, obviously. So just take away all the farm you can. Now head towards mid. I mean, Sino is just stripping away farm left and right. And now you have to worry about this E set every lane. Oh, this is going to be rough.
This is not going to be a fun startup, especially with Sino getting that first blood. But Snoopy able to get some good poke onto Griff. Gino, same thing over towards Hurrywin. But Elion is the backup this time for Leoncitos if they can get some good aggressive picks. Elion goes in. Gino hits him with the dash to stun him out. But that means he's not going to go anywhere immediately after. And the fight turns around. Hurrywin comes up and puts himself on the board for Leoncitos to get their first kill.
Yeah, sick body block by Elion there, making sure to catch that horse stun so he wasn't able to get, too far towards the tower. But looks like Hurrywin's going for the regank. Not too much HP from Snoopy here. This could be bad if he steps up. And Griff is aggressing.
Griff really wants this fight. I mean, both Snoopy and Hurrywin are low, but Elion is not. And that dash, that mobility out of Griff will make sure that he can get away safely. But it is a purple buff invade. That one does get stolen by Elion, so that's going to be a little bit more experience in the dual lane, at least pushed away by the Sturdy Artisans, to help, again, trying to alleviate some of the pressure that's been put in the solo line by Sturdy Artisans.
Yeah, I think this is exactly what Elion needs to do, man. I don't think the solo lane is going to be a point of contention anymore right now. You have a Chalk who's already died once. Unfortunately, Sino is just living over here. And with the, he said, jungle brings, you don't have 2 physicals, right? So now he's building a breastplate. You're not going to be building any protections against this E-set for quite some time. So now Sino can go over here, not have to deal with any protections, gank efficiently. So now Elion has those options I was telling you about. Is he going to stay over here in solo? I think no. I think he's going to turn towards and try to get Snoopy ahead, which is exactly what he needs to do.
Sino does go in towards the mid lane to get a little bit of extra farm with Moswell. Meanwhile, Oracle Harpies go the way of Sturdy Artisans. That dual lane rotates over quickly to grab that and their extra Harpy. But here over into the solo lane, I mean, it's a breastplate start by Heed compared to the Runeforge start that we've been seeing a lot out of these more ability-style solo laners, especially Guan Yu that we saw from Relentless One last time. So curious how that lane will pan out with the extra health and damage versus the extra defense that Heed is going.
It definitely is going to depend on how much you want to put out here. Spreen, however, has not backed yet. This mid lane has just been clearing because in the Chiron matchup, you don't really want to poke too much. You have to use a lot of your abilities to clear that wave. And you're just going to be sitting there trying to get this Transcendence online. You're like, guys, don't talk to me until I start stacking, all right? I'm going to sit back here. I'm going to clear my waves. And Moswell's got no problem doing that. That's what he did last game. He didn't get that active early. I mean, you saw he hit level 7, 0, 0, 0 across the board, just getting all the farm you can. So I think Moswell's got no problem with this matchup, just sitting back, soaking up as much farm as he possibly can as Spreen just ticked over to finish that Transcendence. Now, we might be seeing some action over there.
Hurrywin just ticks 5 with that jump in, but doesn't use the Ragnarok on Griff or Gino. Beads are up on both of them, so it would have just been a relic burn over anything else. Instead, we'll now get aggressive towards the purple buff, and this could be an opportunity to strip one of these relics away. Snoopy is standing by, and that Mannequins is ticking away at that buff camp. Hurrywin will be able to jump out, and that'll be a quick disengage by Leoncitos, and yet another buff camp steal by the Order side team.
Oh yeah, with Snoopy on this Zhong with Mannequin Scepter, you can pretty much W key at any buff, any camp, any sort of thing on the left side of the map rather, because I mean it's just gonna be done so quickly you don't have to expend your ability, so you still have your poke if you need to fight, but you also just use your auto attacks to clear everything. So just soaking up as much farm as you can on this Zhong Kui pick. You want to make sure you get all your items online and just poke people out. Anytime they want to commit to you, now they're fighting the ghosts. I mean this pick, especially in duo lane, is very annoying to deal with because the ganks mean you're definitely fighting into a ghost with Zhong Kui. I mean, he can just sort of do as much damage as he can as he goes down, so you're putting yourself susceptible to regank as well.
Circle of Protection dropped. He doesn't have many options left. Sino, though, does have one last basic to bring him down afterwards as a second kill up on the board for the jungler and more aggression in towards that solo lane. All that physical defense will not help out the Chalk against this magical jungler. Hurrywin wants to get aggressive himself, jumps in up against Gino. Gino's more than happy to trade that poke back with the supports, both of them with their first full items online. It's Sovereignty on the side of Gino, where it's Gauntlet of Thieves for Hurrywin.
I gotta say, this Bastet pick usually has a lot of freedom here, but it's gonna be difficult to find a gank as Hurrywin finally finds that ultimate.
only going to find Sino's beads here. Return Spirit Ball gets the beads out of Hurry. Leon silenced out, knocked around by Moswell, but an ultimate in by the support. Gino does crash into the mid lane, but won't find anything else beyond there. So it's a trade out of relics, but they get Hurry wins relic, his purification beads for Sinos in this trade.
Yeah, unfortunate that you don't get anything out of Moswell because that Merlin is really going to be your favorite pick to go for here, but he's just playing so far back. Merlin has so much range, so he doesn't really have to post up here as Sino takes away the obelisk. I mean, this E-set, we haven't even seen her on this side of the map, but when she does show up, everyone's got to run away at this point. Already has a Spear of Desolation, 2-0 on this E-set. No purification beads available if they do find any sort of CC on her, but she's just going to back off here.
Relentless doesn't realize that Elion is sticking by. It's a good cavalry charge and a good dash. We'll get the kill on the solo laner, but can Relentless One make it out is the question. Elion doesn't have ult and will not need it here because Elion can get the kill up against Relentless One, trading out just barely. Those minions chipping away at this Bastet's health bar, but Elion at least turns up 1 for 1.
Yeah, I mean, it's nice to get that one kill, but he's sitting 0-3 right now on this Chalk pick. I mean, it's going to take so long before he's able to do anything in the backline at this point because Chalk, I mean, you really want to be able to go in, spam your abilities, get some heals off, you know, become a menace, get those attack speed slows off, all that sort of stuff. Right now, I mean, he's going to have a rough time farming when every time he steps up, Relentless One just hops on the cavalry and rides. I mean, he almost solo, I mean, he did solo him there, obviously, but he has so much damage right now, so he's going to have to play the farm game super hard, maybe steal away from some Leon in the back camps because this solo lane is looking rough.
I mean, that Tainted Steel plus the Rune Forge early on strip away some of the healing that Heat has been having. And as we talk about in game number 1, just the amount of utility it has just to this Guan Yu alone. Well, a slow's built into his kit and the ultimate as well. Relentless One making good use of this item here in game number 2. He's built himself up about a half-level lead across the board. The rest of the way, though, sitting fairly net even for every one of these players.
Yeah, Snoopy's poking his head out over here. Charybdis can immune a good portion of the damage if he does want to engage, but it looks like he's just going to eat some poke and run around. Snoopy's trying to get active. Like, he knows he's on this Zhong pick that can do a lot of damage right now, has the Divine Ruin finished, but he just can't aggress on a Charybdis. So he's like, guys, is there anyone over here I could fight? Nope. Okay, I'm going to go back to lane. Then he's got to be so bored on this Zhong pick right now.
But you got to think, though, maybe this is one of the better picks that this Zhong Kui could have gone into. Sure, you can't really do anything to Charybdis, but at the same time, Chris doesn't want to do much to you. Moswell will get away from Hurrywin for the time. Hurrywin goes under the tower, but gets burned down by Moswell and Gino. A little too aggressive out of support from LEONCITOS. And Leon, who used the ultimate, tried to help out, but came up unsuccessful in doing so. Another pick goes to the Sturdy Artisans.
Yeah, I felt the aggression there on Hurrywin's Brutalize, where he was like, he's so weak, guys, come on. So he just brutalized under the tower there, but just an insane amount of CC on the Sturdy Artisans draft. I mean, you have the E-set Silence, you had the knock-up from Horus there. I mean, you just have too much to be a Fenrir. You can get your ult off, but those Brutalizes are never going to get through right now with this draft.
I thought for a moment that Gino stole that purple buff, but no, it will go the way of LEONCITOS. So they'll at least get a little bit of favor and a little bit of help here in this early game, and they're going to need all that they can grab because Sturdy Artisans have already amassed themselves a near 2,000 gold lead just 10 minutes in. And Snoopy, who started out this Mannequins and started with a ring, didn't elect to finish the ring first. Instead, rushed immediately into a Divine Ruin. Maybe a little interesting kind of going for that start.
Yeah, I think he was just worried about the Horus heal spam maybe. I think he was trying to get aggressive in this lane. As we saw, he's trying to rotate over. He's trying to find as many fights as he can. Maybe he was also thinking about that possible E-set rotation. Either way, ooh, Relentless One's just going to ult on out of there. But either way, I think that the Zhong Kui wants to get aggressive early because you have those built-in protections as you stack your minions. So you want to try to look for those picks, look for as much damage as you can. But as we said, it seems like both of these picks don't really want to do anything to each other. They want to get their farm up, maybe poke a little bit. But unless both of you royally mess up, I don't think you're going to find any sort of solo kills in this matchup.
I mean, kind of a, you got your wave? Cool. I get my wave? All right, cool. Let's go back to just doing our own thing here, farming up our own camps. Really the only time we might see these two, you know, kind of gods battle against each other would be for that side Alpha Harpy camp. That's about it. Or if we see some supports or junglers rotate over. Griff does get back to base, so Hurrywin won't get to do anything on this side except soak up a little farm from Snoopy. But it's an Aussie picked up by Griff on his return back to the base. Snoopy going for his second flat pen item. And I'm kind of wondering, do you think Snoopy's even going to worry about finishing that ring, or do you think maybe late game he just sells it for something else?
I definitely think you can get some value out of it if he does want to go for that route. I mean, a nice Telekines, never heard of Zhong Kui build, to be honest, but I think at this point he's more worried about getting that flat pen online because there is going to be some tanky targets running at him right now, so I think he's prioritizing that flat pen as much as possible. If he does elect to finish it, it won't be until he finishes that flat pen item for sure. But I also want to touch on the fact that it looks very rough to be Hurrywin right now. I mean, there's constantly 4 beads up on the side of the map. And it's not like Leon's leading anyone with the hundreds of bass, so you have to get the beads down yourself and then come back and get them again if you really want to get a nice Ragnarok off at this point.
You never want to be the one to have to force them every single time as that Fenrir, but he will eat some poke and get the ultimate out of Sino, so that's one big cooldown now out there on the side of Sturdy Artisans. Well, with as much anti-heal as picked up here, they're going to need it. Because, I mean, not just those Horus heals, the Guan heals, then heals from Sino on this circular protection from the E set. A lot of sustain on this side. We do see some of that anti-heal already answered. Divine Rune from the Zhong Kui, and a double Brawler.
And you're going to have all sorts of resets on his abilities, so might as well just slam it. It's basically a Chronos pendant, but it gives you protections and less damage.
Didn't think that Griff wanted to use the beads there, but because of how close Snoopy was, ended up having to. So that's going to be one big relic down. They're finally able to get some of these beads off the board, but every single person on the side of Sturdy Artisans does have purification beads now, with Relentless One going back to base. Pick that up as a second relic. I'm curious as to where Gino's going to go second relic. Maybe could go towards Shell. We've been seeing a lot of popularity there. Frenzy has also still been one of those top support relics.
It seems like Heat is very worried about getting hit by the circle of protection, opting to go for the Aegis instead of a Beads himself. I just think he's recognized how much lockdown they have on this roster with the E set into the Guan stun, possibly a Horus knockup in the mix. I think at this point he's like, you know what, I'm going to be standing still for a long time even with Beads. Might as well just immune some of that damage in the process.
Do you think there's any value in maybe going for like a Spirit Rope pickup or something? It's an item we don't see very often, but you know, talking about all this lockdown, I imagine that could be maybe an item that he'd go towards.
He did build on the Bologna last game, and to me, it looked like it was because he was very far behind and Spirit Rope's kind of cheap. But at this point, I think now it's just a smart pickup. I mean, it gives you that sort of mitigations you would want when you are getting locked down like this. So yeah, I could definitely see a Spirit Rope in his future if he does want to go for that route. It is nice when you're behind, like I said, because it is a cheaper item that does give a lot of stats like that. So it definitely could be, but right now it seems like he's either going for a Transcendence or an early Heartseeker. I'm thinking that Transcendence is going to be the route, but it looks like Sturdy Artisans already pulling this gold.
They've got the E set, so Circle of Protection available, but the Sturdy Artisans don't want to coin toss this one just yet. Instead, it'll be a 10-man grouping over for the Fury. It's Gino in first with the Fracture. Spirit Ball on to Heat, and a quick retreat by Gino. But Relentless One isn't calling for the retreat. He's calling for the go in. He'll find a lot of damage on a Spreen, but he's going to eat a lot of it back on his own. Ultimate in from the Horus will bring 3 into the backline. Circle protection by Sino. Will clip Elion at the tail end of it. But it's Griff who goes down. Spreen holding on for their last leg if they can, but they will not find it. It's a 2-for-2 trade so far. Moswell, though, poking out as much damage as they can in that fire stance. Heat down to half health. Hurrywin down to half as well. He finds a way out. And everybody on Sturdy Artisans is very low, but Hurrywin goes back in, and he'll be bursted down right after. Only Heat left alive.
So much damage coming out from E-Set right there. I can't believe Leon got one shot by that circle protection. He wasn't too tanky, obviously, but now Heat has a guessing game to play. Does he want to teleport? Does he go back? It's going to be rough, but so much lockdown. He's got the juke, but not enough here as Moswell almost dies to the wave coming in. Just great play out of Sturdy Artisans. LEONCITOS was able to find a couple picks there, but this lead that they built up is starting to show through here. At the very least, they don't lose that Gold Fury, but I just seeing that circle protection pop on Leon just hurt me a little bit how much damage just came out right there.
I think I saw like almost 1,000 that thing hit for him. It is pretty close to full charge, if not at that point. And Elion, I thought he was out of the range of it for a moment there, but Sino, very aware, does end up catching him on that last little bit. And it's not just Moswell going for the Breastplate of Valor. Oh no, we can't just have one mage getting a tanky item. Sino also going to be picking that one up, and then Relentless One will double down on the boosted healing here with a CAD shield as his third item and a Breastplate of Valor. So we got 3 breastplates here on the side of Sturdy Artisans.
And now that circle protection's already back up. You know, for what? This Gold Fury, Sino's not even going to drop it. He's not worried about it. Oh, he's going to drop it on Snoopy, and he's going to disappear here. That is just so much damage. Did they forget about him?
Snoopy,
oh, okay.
no.
Griff is there to finish that one off. I was going to say, did they think he was just going to die there?
Now Snoopy does go down. It's going to be a Gold Fury for the side of Sturdy Artisans, an extra pick, and maybe a little bit more. Tier 1 tower in the duo lane is gone. Hurrywin, with nothing else to do, him and Gino are literally just going to trade off.
They're just going to pass him back and forth.
They'd say, hey, you want one? No, I want one. No, you want one? Nah, let me go ahead and take one of the. The question is, who's going to be the more stubborn one and wait till the other one's health bar depletes first? I think Hurrywin would be the one who goes down. Gino has to leave after this one, but I don't think I've ever actually seen two supports literally just trading flower for flower.
That made me so happy. I'm glad they both were like, well, I can do this all day, buddy. So they just sat there pulling them. But now, just going to get some farm up. They did get the Gold Fury, and now a tier 2. So that's the same type of huge gold spike we saw last game, which sort of led to LEONCITOS' demise there, where they were too far behind. They couldn't really get aggressive when they wanted to. And now it's also that same sort of lead that we saw as well. Relentless won 3 levels on Heed. This chalk pick not able to do everything he wants to right now. Does have the Transcendence finish finally, so maybe a little bit of, you know, damage coming out from that chalk now, but just it's hard to live as a level 14 solo laner in a level, and when your carries are level 17, it's not great.
Yeah, it's a hard one here for Heed, and going for that Transcendence, man, it's going to be such a long time before that item gets fully stacked up and ready for the fight. But LEONCITOS not willing to give up just yet, trying to establish some ward control here by the Fire Giant pit. Elion will get a sentry out there so they can at least see when something goes awry here over by the Fire Giant. A Pyromancer will at least be the call for LEONCITOS to try and get a little bit of gold back in this game. They can secure that one all by themselves. Sino
just walked by.
I don't even think he was worried about it. Even if he did notice, sure, you throw a stray Spirit Ball out there, but I don't really even know if Sino cared about that.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he did see. He was like, hey guys, they're on Pyro, and then just jumped on by. Said, you know what, I'll go check out what's going on in mid, see if I can find a Spirit Ball over here. But yeah, I don't think they're too worried about that Pyromancer at this point. I will say, Snoopy did finish that Telekines. No sort of percentage pen available for him right now. There's a lot. This whole game, for me, is sitting on Snoopy's backs. I mean, I see 3 breastplates, a Sovereignty. Right now, he's the only form of magical damage, and he has the blink. So he's going to have to get in, make sure he does as much as possible, and then die. I mean, that's Zhang's job right now.
It is a triple blink out of LEONCITOS for their relics. Meanwhile, beads and Aegises and a single cursed Ankh to try and maybe stop something around this Fire Giant. Gino goes in, and so does Relentless, and Snoopy doesn't have many options and many places left to go. He gets stunned down and doesn't get a lot of value out of those ghosts. Big circle of protection will keep Sturdy Artisans nice and topped off in the fight. And it's already 1 down for LEONCITOS. Sturdy Artisans with an early pick.
It seems to me like Sturdy Artisans heard my comms, because this game was on Snoopy's back. He did have to blink in and find all that damage, but you know how you stop Zhang from doing that? You blink on him first. You can't get to the back line. Zhang is not able to get this crazy amount of burst damage up on these carries. As I already mentioned, no percentage pen, so you're not killing the tanks, and here comes the aggression.
Blinks in on Heed, who has nowhere to go. Griff goes down, and a Maw comes in. A big damage up against Hurrywin, forces the beads out of the Fenrir. And they get 1 more pick on the side of the Sturdy Artisans. This time, the Soul Laner goes down, staggering those death timers, and still buying time for this Fire Giant. Sturdy Artisans had it going, had about halfway down, and then got rid of it. Just that way they could try and go for a pick against LEONCITOS. But now it's Circle of Protection back up. Sturdy Artisans should be able to secure this objective and maybe secure another kill, this time on Spreen.
Oh, yeah. Unfortunate that Giddy Up doesn't go as far as Cavalry Charge, but it is a regular dash ability as opposed to a CC Immune Ultimate, so it's nice that one horse is able to chase down the other one there. Relentless one easily picks that one up, and now, I mean, it's just a case of crossing your T's and dotting your I's. You have such a lead from the Sturdy Artisans right now that it's not unlosable, I would say, but it's pretty much so at this point. I mean, they're just going to run it down, probably get this mid Phoenix for free, but look at this. Snoopy is looking for the gank.
Moswald specifically as well here in the back line. Heed goes through. Snoopy blinks over against Moswald and puts some damage on the mid laner. Moswald down to half HP. Those ghosts are burning through, but Snoopy doesn't have backup in the fight. Sino goes down, so it's a 1-for-1 trade in the midst of the fight. The Phoenix is taking a lot of damage. It should go down. Relentless one will chase out this kill onto Leon. Will get him with 1 more swipe. And poor Heed cannot catch a break in this fight. He'll get stunned out and burned away. Moswald with another pickup here puts him up 307.
To me, I don't think he's got to play
Wait,
this
the
game
end?
once, but they're going for it. They are going for it all.
It's the
right
end.
for the Titan. Here it goes.
Spreen with the Centaurs doesn't have enough damage to slow them down. Titan will go down here in game number 2, and Sturdy Artisans 16-5 as the final kill count. 21 minutes in will take game number 2.
Second verse, same as the first. To me, that looked like the same exact game as game number 1. Play off the solo, get crazy pressure, rotate over, get your Gold Fury, get your tier 2. They did the same exact thing, and it worked both times. It was unfortunate. They tried to stop this sort of pressure from that jungle solo duo, but the Sturdy Artisans, they just ran away with that one.
And again, trying to kind of just ignore the mid lane as far as Leoncitos was concerned. They didn't really pay attention to Moswell and came back to bite him yet again at the tail end of that game there. Sturdy Artisans with a 2-0 win. We'll come back after the break and break down the set. Well, a big congrats to the Sturdy Artisans. They'll be crowning themselves a spot now in the North American SCC with a win here in game number 2 and a 2-0 set over Leoncitos. And a big win to say the least out here. I mean, a lot to prove for both of these teams. Sturdy Artisans continue to put their focus. Same thing that they did in game number 1, Trelly. Make sure to get that early solo, put Heed behind, and you could really kind of see, I mean, Heed didn't really have many opportunities to get into a lot of these late game team fights.
Yeah, as a chalk, you want to be able to make sure you're getting to that backline effectively, getting those huge AoE silences off, and then just cycling your abilities. But when you're this far behind, when you've been, you get maybe one blue buff to your name the whole time, I mean, it's very difficult to do that. And I like what you said there at the end of the game. I mean, because of that early pressure, it seemed like Moswall and Griff were, or not Griff, yeah, Moswell and Griff were able to free cast, and it's just so difficult to deal with fed carries like that when you don't have a tanky solo laner.
Yeah, not just fed carries. I mean, fed here in the side lane too. I mean, a relentless one with a massive KDA of his own. I mean, sure, Griff comes out here and he puts up a show. And unfortunately for Snoopy, kind of talking it back over to this dual lane, he being the lone magical damage on the team just didn't quite have enough, because even with everybody building all these Breastplate of Valors, getting all of these physical defensive items on the side of Sturdy Artisans, they were just ahead pretty much the entire game, and they just had more damage than Snoopy was able to immune out. And that kind of comes to the downside when you go for the blink beads combo, is once you get to that backline, Snoopy didn't really have a way to stay alive.
Yeah, it seemed like he had two really solid times to engage there. The first of which was at that firefight where they all blinked on him before he could do anything. Right, yeah, right here actually. And it just, you can't really do anything at this point. You just ult, get as much damage as you can off. And then the next time was at that Phoenix Siege where he came from behind, tried to find Moswell out of position, but at that point you're already so far behind you're not even able to 100-0 knowing his Aegis is down.
4-1-8 for Gino here on the support. Horus 4-1. And 9 for Relentless One on the Guan Yu. I mean, still, all this physical defense, all this extra healing. The anti-heal out of Leoncitos, not quite enough, even after picking up 4 individual anti-heal items plus an Ankh at the end. The healing ended up being not the biggest issue out here. It was mostly just the damage that Sturdy Artisans were able to output. Moswell going with an undying game here in game number 2. Another case of they just couldn't get back to this backliner and slow him down. Sure, Moswell didn't top the damage charts this time, but it felt like it just because of essentially how uncontested he went in a lot of these fights.
Yeah, I mean, I saw Hurrywin trying to get to him so hard because, he knew, as an ex-mid laner, he knew how much that this Merlin Moswell was able to do, and he was just like, maybe I should die, maybe I should try to get this, maybe I should try to get that, but as a tanky Fenrir, you're not able to 100-0 him in that regard, so you need a little bit of help there, and he was just protected so well. We saw Jeno was just providing so much CC, all the healing and stuff, so it just seemed like Sturdy Artisans got everything they wanted and they executed.
Sturdy Artisans, so the big win here in our second set of the day, but that's not our only set of the day. Oh, no. We're only halfway through our day so far. Let's take a look at the schedule to see what else you guys can look forward to for our NA qualifier games here in the SEC. Samsara and Funhavers will be our next set, and then immediately after that one will be Lean Into It versus Sopstime. Sopstime, I know, is still playing with their sub Chinfu this time around. At least I have the note here, so hopefully that note is correct to me. But one player you were kind of talking about, especially for our next set on the side of Samsara, Briz seems to be one of the standout players, at least on that team for you.
Oh yeah, I just think that playing from the mid lane, I think this meta suits his god style so well. He has all these picks that he has so much success on right now, and the Thoth specifically, he just feels super oppressive when you don't have someone. It's the same sort of style as this Zeus, where if you have no one that can get to this crazy damage mage in the backline, they're just gonna hard carry the game. But there's a lot of heavy hitters on both sides. Magic Feet has been a big contention point on the in the Twitter sphere specifically. All these memes about them, so this should be a definitely exciting match 3.
Or maybe so the lack of the Twitter sphere.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, when you got a guy playing at this level and he doesn't have any major social media presence, it's kind of ominous almost as to what he could do if he did end up jumping into that social media scene of his own here. But yeah, Magic Feet, Joshi, and Oceans, 2 players who have been around for a long time, should be a sparks flying set here, at least for Samsara versus Funhavers. That one's going to be coming up here in just a few minutes, so stick around and we'll be back with set number 3.